Catchments. This is the weekly live show. My name is Ryan Peters. I'm joined again by Travis, but we have people, Travis, we're not even look at this. We got a comment here. We got a comment there. We got a comment there. I mean, John Forrester shows up and he thinks he's going to run the show tonight. I mean, I don't know what's going on. So, yeah, we're glad that you're with us. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Wednesday evening. Travis, how is your Wednesday evening?
Oh, it was a day, I tell you that. Still got, got Pepsi to keep me going. It was a busy day. Everything's going. It was a beautiful day outside, so I actually got to golf a little bit. You can't beat that. So
that's not bad.
And tomorrow's supposed to be 80 degrees, but tomorrow I got to take my buddy to go get his wisdom teeth taken out. So, I should be kind of fun.
Is he smart?
It'll be fun. Oh yeah, he's very smart, but
is he smart? Okay. So he could lose a little wisdom.
He can lose a little bit, but he is going to be. He works with numbers all day, so he works in like a bank firm type of thing. So, but I can't wait for that. It's going to be kind of a funny time.
Yeah, well, on tonight's show, I mean, we got numbers, people switching numbers, people leaving that we didn't think were leaving, people going to other different places. We have an absolute jam-packed show for you guys tonight. So let's go ahead and get into the show and today's NASCAR news. Somehow that drop gets louder every single time I play it. But let's go ahead and yeah, the thing that we want to hear and don't get to hear anymore, unfortunately. But the first piece of news, and maybe more than just anything, a rumor, but right here, according to Bob Pockross of Fox Sports, in regards to the open seat at Stewart-Haas Racing, Noah Gragson has emerged as a potential candidate for the number team spot. You and I, Travis, have talked, and I have talked at length at times too, that Ford really needs somebody, and now they possibly are turning their eyes to the young prospect that lost his ride, whether it was due to a tweet or the fact that they won John and Hunter Nemechek in it because they're switching to Toyota, and Noah Gragson. Do you think that Noah Gragson would be a good fit for Stewart-Haas, and do you think it shakes it up enough to where Ford actually goes, okay, we got to get somebody that's actually, younger than 33 years old?
Yeah, I think Noah fits that mold of a rising superstar. I think he's still got a lot of growing to do. I think he showed in the Xfinity Series, especially last year, how good he really is. I don't think his talents have really shown that much this past year, but I think Legacy struggled a little bit with at the beginning of the year. I know you and I talked a little bit about how Legacy starts doing stuff in-house. So their programs start going up, but you've seen how Carson's ran with the car. I think Carson's ran better than when Noah ran the car. I think, though, you and I had that conversation about Ford. Ford has no one in the pipeline. I mean, Haley Deegan's really about it. But for the most part, I mean, you don't have a whole lot. They lost Dane Smith to Spire. I think Noah does fit that mold of, a rising superstar that could, benefit from the youth. He's got a personality. He's got a great personality. He'd be great. He'd be great for that group. I don't think there's a whole lot of spark in that group. So he kind of can bring some flame is the word I'm going to use. And then, yeah, I think he would be a good fit. I think he's still got some learning curve to do, but he brings in sponsorship. I'd say that Johnny Morris and Tony Stewart are best friends. So there's that connection. I bet
that's the first thing that came to my mind, Travis, is that previous partnership.
Yeah, and I think you got a partnership already. I don't see Johnny Morris not following him there. I think it kind of shocked me a little bit that he wasn't on any legacy cars because I thought they were kind of a tight group. So I think you do follow him over there, although there's already 2 Bass Pro Shop cars already in the Cup Series, but we always see 7 monster cars, it feels like, throughout the race. But I think, there's got to be some kind of funding. Tony and Stewart are already – Tony Stewart and Haas are already sponsoring Ryan Preece's car. I think they lost Smithfield to the Junior Motorsports. If you look at Junior Motorsports car, they had Smithfield on the car this week, so it makes you think a little bit on that. But I mean, I think it's a good rumor. I know I talked to Bob at Talladega, and he said that really has been big over the last 2 weeks. And I know that Noah's been in some of the sponsorship meetings as well. So I think that's if Ford really wants someone young instead of, like you said, bring a 33-year-old, which I love Josh Berry, but bringing in someone that's going to bring some talent, some flame, and some excitement, I think Ford's got to go with Noah.
Well, somebody who doesn't like flame being brought to their rides is, well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I thought the same thing when it comes to the Smithfield conversation. And it's unfortunate that in this sport, you really have to talk about what funding are you bringing with you versus are you actually a good driver? That's just a wild thing that no other, I couldn't imagine. We're talking about baseball and it's like, yeah, they want to bring this pitcher up, but he's not sponsored by Rawlings. So like, who's going to supply his gloves? It's like, it's just such a weird thought process, where these things pan out, but it's the truth. And when you mention it, when Smithfield leaves, who has put, tons of money on the number 10 card, put tons of money with Stewart-Haas Racing, that is a huge void. And we've seen what happens when that void's not filled, whether it be, a Kyle Busch, what we were possibly thinking with Denny Hamlin, did they secure another thing because of the lack of FedEx and things of that nature and how those rumors spiraled. But, I think Noah Gragson deserves another chance. I don't think he should have lost his chance in the first place. Now, he was having one of the worst rookie seasons of all time. I mean, for what his expectations were, this guy right here said that I thought that he would be on the revenge tour because he was pissed off at Ty Gibbs. And I said, Legacy Motor Club, I like what they're doing. And I think that, Noah Gragson will have a better year than Ty Gibbs. Ate shit on that within like 3 weeks. I was like, nope, that's not going to happen.
And I think if you look at his last year performance, when he got to fill in for Bowman, when Bowman had the concussions, and things like that, he didn't run like exceptionally well with, now 48, I felt like was down maybe a tinty wit last year, but it was nothing special when he drove it, especially when he was at Homestead. I actually picked him last year at Homestead because I thought he would be able to ride the wall, and he wasn't nowhere to be found throughout that race, especially him dominating the Xfinity race the day before. So
outside of losing his ride, his biggest memory and imprint on this season will be the fact that he hit turn 5 like 4 times at Chicago Street Race. I mean, that's how people are going to remember
in the Wendy's car.
In the Wendy's car, yeah. Wendy just had to be like, he should have put chicken nuggets on it, and he was just dunking it straight into that sauce every time. But I like Noah. I think he's done some stupid stuff, as all young drivers do. Especially drivers that don't come from these blue collar situations to where they're the ones paying for their vehicle every single week. They have a lot of sponsorship and funding behind them. But he absolutely deserves another chance if somebody's willing to give it based upon his talent. There's a lot less talented drivers than Noah Gragson in this sport and in driving other rides. So Noah Gragson absolutely deserves another chance based upon what to me was a witch hunt. This is something that was out for years. And the worst thing he, in my opinion, could have done is apologize for something stupid that he doesn't need apologizing for. But that's, I got a video on that as well if you guys want to look that up. But I do think that he belongs to another team. I'm surprised it's Stewart-Haas, but they also have to do something too. So, we'll move on now to Sheldon Creed. And this kind of shocked you and I both, Travis. I mean, just completely out of nowhere. Sheldon Creed, based upon what RCR just dropped this bomb, Sheldon Creed will not be returning as the driver of the number 2 Wheeling Camaro in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2024. We will make an announcement regarding the driver of the number 2 Wheeling Chevrolet in the near future. Travis, I don't know about you, but the first thing on my mind was, what? Huh? Like, Sheldon Creed made the playoffs. He possibly could have won at Portland. He's been right there multiple times. He's literally had a chance to put the car in victory lane and said he would rather win clean than drive dirty, even though he still had moments of getting into it like every Xfinity driver has at some point. But based upon what we've seen and the way he's rose up in the system, I just was kind of baffled that this came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it definitely shocked me. That's why I texted you right off the bat and was like, "Holy crap! Like, what in the world?" I thought he had another year on his contract. I was trying to think back, and I was trying to actually look back at tweets and stuff. I thought he signed a multi-year deal, but if you really look at the way RCR pronounced it, they kept saying the Whelan Camaro. So it sounds like Whelan is going to stay with RCR. Although if you look at Sheldon Creed's kind of a message where it was talking about how Whelan always supported him and could hopefully continues to support. So it really kind of contradicting each other. But the way it looks like Whelan is going to stay with RCR, it's just kind of shocked. I think you have a guy that has got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of second place finishes. Man, he's had some good races, really good races. Yeah. I think about the Darlington race last year when he probably should have won it, and Larson and all them got in a big old battle for the win, and he finished second. He put on a heck of a show. It really shocked me. I think he's got a lot of talent. It's just a matter of getting it there. So who goes to it? I don't know, but I think he has some options. I think they all came out with that announcement. I think they probably separated their ways, and I think he's got some. I know you and I talked a little bit about, but kind of shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, there's one comment that I saw. I believe it's Dave Moody that said it on MRN Radio. He said it's not about if the Pirate gets to the plank. Is he pushed off or does he jump off? And I sat there, and that actually made my brain move a little bit for something that was 50 characters. In thinking long term about this, Travis, if you're Sheldon Creed, you do what you do today. The first bit of news that was surprising is that that Austin Hill, with his success this year, signed a multi-year deal to stay at RCR in the Xfinity Series. I'm like, okay, because he was rumored at Colleague and the alliance that they have there and stuff like that, because that's one of the people I thought possibly could replace Justin Haley. That didn't happen. And now you look at with what they have now, and maybe there was a conference, maybe there was a sit down with Sheldon Creed going, okay, Austin Hill's not moving up. When do I get a chance? Kyle Busch ain't going nowhere. Grandson's probably not going nowhere.
He's definitely not going nowhere.
So then Sheldon probably goes, what am I doing here? Exactly. And that's the only thing that I can think of that Sheldon may have said, I don't see my future ever, no matter my talent, if I win a championship, like Austin Hill could this year, and Austin Hill's been very, very good, especially at the beginning of the year. I mean, he was the most dominant driver. He was fighting for the regular season championship. And then he's looking for his first. He was good in truck. He's been solid, made the playoffs here this year. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look towards your future and you're Sheldon Creed, do you see yourself at RCR? Because you ain't pushing over those two drivers, not one with family. And no matter how good you do, you're not going to move the guy that's family. And no matter how good you do, you're not moving two-time champion Kyle Busch. So maybe Sheldon Creed just saw, hey, I just don't think that my talent is ever going to allow me to be promoted at RCR. Maybe now's the best time to move when maybe my stock is at the highest.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And I think he's got to look at it a different way too. And I think if you look at the recent news with everything, you got Spire making all these announcements, and then you got this bombshell with Sheldon, especially with, sounds like RCR is going to keep wheeling. If you remember back when 3 years ago when Sheldon was driving for GMS in the 2 truck, that truck was white a lot. If we remember right, that truck was white. So he really doesn't have a lot of sponsorship around.
Which makes me think that Whelan signed a deal with RCR and not
I 100%. I think it did. Now Whelan did sponsor him during his first Cup start. But then you got to look around going, okay, where could the possibilities go? He's got to go to a team that probably has funding that stays with the team. So you got a team like Colleague. Colleague's looking for drivers. Are they looking for a Cup driver? Or are they looking for a Xfinity driver? But Colleague's already said that AJ Allmendinger, unless he finds some funding, isn't going to be in the Cup Series. So Sheldon automatically, I think of Sheldon he doesn't have a lot of funding. So maybe he's not away from that. Does he go to, does Ford try to get him and have him drive for Front Row Motorsports in the Truck Series, where there's some funding down there that probably Zane Smith's going to leave, because the same people that sponsor Front Row Motorsports in the Cup also do it in the trucks.
Right.
So he has some right there. Really, other than that, I don't know where he goes. He said he has his 2024 plans already in line. So does he do that? Does Ford try to snatch him up as a young talent and take him back to like John Hunter did with Toyota and go back into the trucks with Front Row Motorsports, where he has the chance over the next couple of years with Michael McDowell probably going to retire over the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe sees a chance of being in the Cup Series like that. So I really don't know where he goes. I think it's Colleague or he's going to go Ford with Front Row Motorsports, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of
well, Travis, what I've learned so far with this silly season is that I don't know anything. And what is not a possibility over the last 2 years becomes a possibility whenever I don't think it's a possibility. So,
yeah, and I think this one really threw me for a loop. I had zero idea. And you got to think about it too. I know we got comments about Ty Dillon. You know, if his grandpa wasn't named Richard Childress, he wouldn't even have a ride. You know, right. I see John putting in there about the Ty Dillon thing, but if he wouldn't even have a ride if his granddaddy was Richard Childress. But you got to think about that too. Is Ty now, since he's out of Spire, is he going to go, which we'll talk about Spire later, but does he go down to drive the wheel in number 2 for RCR in the Xfinity Series where he probably belongs? He does not belong in Cup, and he hardly probably belongs in Xfinity. I mean, but that's the way it looks.
And I'm going to get to the comments in just a second because I know John is very excited to be with us, and we're glad to have you, John. If RCR is serious about growing a program, then no. Then Ty Dillon doesn't fill the number 2 car. But if RCR says, I'm Richard Childress and I don't give a shit, then he probably drives the number 2 car this next year because there's no reason for him to drive Austin to drive the number 3, but that's where we're at. So let's go ahead and get to some of the chats. Mr. Forrester. He says he's got his daughter has William Byron winning. He is a Kevin Harvick fan. Says, I'm excited to see all the retirement of Kevin Harvick. Want to clearly still see something going for Phoenix where he is the king. He is really good there. So that was one of the reasons why, him advancing would have been tough on everybody else. Is Ty Dillon going to swallow his pride away from going from his grandpa and say, I made a mistake? Let me address this thing wholeheartedly when it comes to something that I think in sports doesn't get done anywhere else in life. When somebody gives you an opportunity that you feel they don't deserve, you deserve it because somebody gives you that opportunity. I don't care what everybody else's resume is. It is not for Ty Dillon to say, I'm not a Cup driver. It's for everybody else to say that he's not a Cup driver. Whoever wants to give you millions of dollars to throw a baseball, it's not everybody else's fault, especially the person playing baseball to get paid millions of dollars. It's up to the people that are willing to give him that money. So please separate Ty Dillon, the person, from the Cup Series. If the Cup Series was serious and the Xfinity Series was serious, then no, Ty Dillon wouldn't have a ride. But Ty Dillon isn't the person, the enemy, because he is getting a ride. That is up to everybody else. So I want to make that clear because that drives me insane. If somebody wanted to give me $50 million for me to send feet pictures, I would do it. And you could say that my feet are very ugly. And they don't deserve that. But they deserve what somebody's willing to give. So if somebody's willing to give Ty Dillon a Cup ride, then Ty Dillon deserves a Cup ride.
Sure.
Because if somebody gave Travis Butt a Cup ride right now, he wouldn't look at you guys and go, I don't think I deserve it. Mm-hmm. He would go, give me the fucking contract, fax it to me, I'll e-sign it, I'll Facebook Live it while I e-sign it, and everything will be good to go. What do you know about the car? It goes fast. Next question. So I hate when I see that stuff because it's not this guy's fault, and it's not anybody else's fault that they give him money. It's your fault that you paid $7 for a hot dog at Talladega, which I did not.
Now, here's my question to you. Do you think that Grandpa Richard has some influence on that?
Oh, I 100% think he has influence on that. But if a team is serious about winning, that's why I'm questioning if RCR says he's serious about winning, or RC says he's serious about winning, then he won't employ Austin Dillon and Ty Dillon for part of his rides. That's the thing that in tomorrow's video, you'll be able to watch that. When you're Richard Childress and you want to make a change to win a championship, something you haven't done since Dale Earnhardt was alive 2 decades ago, then you're going to have to employ and listen to somebody like Kyle Busch, who has won every single where he's been. He's won in trucks. He's won in Xfinity. He's won at Cup. He's won as an owner. He's won everything. So if you want to take that knowledge and be winning, and who has Kyle Busch put in his rides? Winners. Richard has not done that. He put in the best person he's had since Kevin Harvick is Tyler Reddick, and even lost him. So maybe Tyler Reddick was like, I'm tired of racing with this bum next to me that has 10 DNFs this year. I don't get any type of help. I don't learn anything from him. Well, Kyle Busch don't have to learn anything. He's done enough in this sport to realize what it takes. So that's the part about this that, yes, I do think, to answer your question, Travis, absolutely there's influence. And then at the other side of it, if you're running your business, and you want me to hire your cousin when I know that, some other guy has a much better resume, if I'm serious about winning, I'll do that. If I want to get money from Richard Childress, then I'll do that and I'll be mediocre.
And I think, we go back to this question, and I think about the picture I saw at the RCR shop where Ty Dillon's 77 Spire Motorsports car was at RCR getting prepared by RCR. And I think he had a little bit of a tick up in performance. They said that car was not always built there, but man, I have a hard time thinking that. But like you said, if someone wants to pay me, someone wants to go pay me $1 billion to, jump out of the street, heck yeah, I'll go do that in a heartbeat.
Well, you brought up the 77 car, and that's exactly who we're going to talk about next. Somebody that actually does have talent, and that will be Carson Hocevar, which everything in life has come full circle. He took over Corey LaJoie's ride when Corey LaJoie went to Hendrick Motorsports. Corey LaJoie signs a contract to remain at Spire, and then Carson Hocevar says, I like that ride. I'm actually going to drive the other one, and he will now be moving to the 77. I have said on this channel that I think Carson Hocevar is the number one prospect in this sport. Based upon what little we've seen him do, it's been very, very impressive. It has rivaled what anything Noah Gragson's done this year, to be completely honest. When Noah Gragson had a better ride, at least in my mind, and what Noah Gragson had in the same exact car that he's filling in for. So what I've seen out of the 20-year-old Carson Hocevar, I'm glad that he's getting a cup ride. But Travis, I think the bigger picture is, holy cow, Spire Motorsports. And that's why the thumbnail says inspired, with Spire. And that is a play on, if you don't get it, I understand. I tried hard. I wanted to be successful. I'm not always successful. That's why, I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan. So I look back and I want to set this timeline here, and I want to get your opinion right after this. Spire Motorsports says that they're going to develop and look for an increased opportunity to be competitive in this sport. Now, when you hear that, you're like, okay, you have Corey LaJoie and Ty Dillon. Big deal. Then Gamebridge announces that they're going to fund into this team. What was it? $50 million, supposedly around $50 million, possibly more than that. And you're like, okay, Gamebridge is a player in the Indy Motorsports scene. They might be moving to Formula One if they decide to help Andretti Motorsports. We don't know that yet, but has shown their presence, even in Indianapolis, taking over the naming rights over Gamebridge Fieldhouse now, where the Indiana Pacers play. They've shown that they want to be a presence inside of the sports, scene. Then out of nowhere, Talladega week, Kyle Busch says, I got an offer I can't refuse. And Spire Motorsports buys Kyle Busch and signs Zane Smith. And now everybody's like, oh shit. Okay, this is how you do it. This is how you show that you're serious. And then on top of that, Travis goes out 2 weeks later and signs Carson Hocevar. So tell me right now, where has your attitude and opinion changed on Spire? Is it because of the Carson Hocevar? Is it all the other stuff? And how successful do you think they actually can be here in the near future?
I think about when Spire, when they first came in 2019, they show up, they bought a charter out of absolutely, Egypt. They just bought it out of the blue, like just randomly bought it. We're like, who the hell is Spire Motorsports?
Right.
Then they proceed to take the biggest gamble of the year at Daytona, and Justin Haley won the race, out of nowhere. Charter team finally bought a charter, and they win, the summer race at Daytona, just out of the blue. if you look at their last every year they've been here, back marker team, kind of just there. I think about 2020 and 2021, they ran the old noses for the Chevy. In 2022, they were like, let's go. So they signed that alliance. Sorry, me. That's good. That's smart. That's clever.
Hey, he's got one for you. He's got one for you too.
You're looking brighter. Is it looking a little brighter? I think I might actually get a bit. How about that?
I think he was talking about how you sound.
A little brighter? How about that? Maybe my brain grew a little bit. I got some Pepsi in me and got my good old hat. But back to it, a little off topic. But if you look at when they're in 2022, whenever they said they were going with the next gen, they said they were going to do an alliance with Hendrick. Obviously, you knew they was going to go up a little bit. And I think they partially did that in 2021 a little bit as well, if I remember right, because there was a lot of like Nation Guard and things like that from, Hendrick, a lot of Hendrick products on some of the Spire cars, which are still kind of on there. But you look at that alliance that's kind of grew. And I think a lot of people were still like, well, hell, they got an alliance. Like they still haven't done anything. I think they were like, all right, well, I'll prove you wrong. So they go out and do all these crazy things. They go out and, buy a charter for $40 million, supposedly. So there's $40 million. Then they go out about a week later and go buy Kyle Busch out of his truck program, which I think they wanted a bigger place. I forget exactly where Spire's at. They're in the old Alan Kowicki shop, which is like a garage. So, but Kyle Busch's place is a heck of a lot bigger. I think it's like double the size, someone said. So they can field.
It's 77,000 square feet. If that,
that's huge. But I think what they could do, they could still build stuff in house. They have a shop there, Rowdy Manufacturing, things like that. And they can build stuff in there. They can host 3 cars now. Plus, they're going to have at least 2 or 3 truck teams next year as well. So they had to host everything. I think so. You have that, and then, like I said, and then they sign at least the top 3, candidates, and Zane Smith. Well, that's Trackhouse, but they made a deal out with that, which that's another story for another thing. I think Spire's on the uptick. I think they're looking at the funding wise, and I don't see why they couldn't. You're not going to like to hear this, but I don't know why they couldn't rival like an RCR or be very similar to them. I don't know why. They got a technical alliance with Hendrick. Obviously been the best Chevy team of late. Yeah, I can see big things. I will say they're gonna have we're gonna have this huge oh my god, they should win a lot of races. No, let's keep it normal. A top 10 finish for Spire is really good. How about we first let's take some baby steps before we run. How about we walk before we run? Right. Let's see some consistent top 10s. Especially out of we're gonna have all this hope for Carson. He's got some experience, but there's still gonna be some learning curve. It's a whole new team. Let's have some consistent top 10s. I think them making the playoffs would be a huge bonus. That'd be like in a grand slam to win the game. I think we gotta walk before we run. Let's get a good year under our belt with 3 teams, because you gotta think about it. SHR, Student House Racing, they've struggled with 4 teams. They got probably all the resources you can get from Ford. So I think Chevy's gonna give them some more money, give them a little bit more, because we're losing 2 Chevy teams with Legacy. So I think they're going to take some of their support. I think they're going to get a little bit more support now since they've just invested all this money. Actually, we lose 3 Chevy teams because BJ McLeod team, Live Fast Motorsports, that's who they bought the charter from. So really lose 3, so they get replaced by them. So I think, I think Chevy's going to take a little bit more serious, but I think you gotta walk before you run. I think a great like not even win a race. I think it's let's finish some consistent top 10s and maybe point our way into the playoffs. That would be the biggest home run that Spire could do.
And when I look at it this way, Travis, at the beginning of the year, Corey LaJoie was top 15 in points, and everybody's like, "Damn, Corey LaJoie, is right now in the playoff picture." That was at least for 2 to 3 months. And then things kind of went back to the mean. And again, they're a young team, but you have to strike when the iron's hot. And with the next gen car, with what we've seen with RFK, with what we've seen with, Trackhouse, the iron's hot right now for you to start something new. And I think Spire saw that and they said, we got to take advantage of it. So what is the game plan? What is the blueprint? Well, let's look at the other teams that have made, these type of changes and these type of deals. With Trackhouse, you got somebody, a veteran in the sport that brings fans in Daniel Suarez, and they bring in a prospect like Ross Chastain. You see with what, all these other teams like RFK, they have Brad Keselowski. They say we're going to stick with Chris Buescher. It seems like the formula is have somebody consistent, have somebody that's been in the sport, and then find a young talent. And to me, they have two of the top 4 young talents with Zane Smith and with Carson Hocevar. And I hear what you're saying when it comes to like Trackhouse, but when that deal comes up, or say that doesn't come into fruition with Daniel Suarez, say maybe he wins a road course next year, what better thing than Spire to say, like, yeah, we'll just kick Corey LaJoie to the curb. We could have one of the best 1-2 punches in this sport while building on top of it. Nobody else is making that move. Mm-hmm. Ford had a chance to do that. They could have done that at Front Row. They didn't. And I understand that. I like Todd Gilliland, and I also like Michael McDowell. I understand that. Stewart-Haas most certainly could have done something like this. They could have done what Hendrick did after the Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and said, we're going to flip everything over, and we're going to sign these young guys, and these young guys are going to carry us to the promised land. Because I'm sure, Travis, whenever all these people back in the day with Hendrick Motorsports, when you had Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jeff Gordon, we're like, oh, my God, we're terrible. It's like, no, you're 20.
Yep.
And that to me is what they're doing. And I think they're doing the Mandalorian. This is the way. I think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And I like you just said, I think Kendrick struggled there for a year or two because they were so young. But look what it's done to him now. William Byron with 6 wins. You have Larson there. You got Chase Elliott. Bowman. I mean, you got young, and I think Hendrick's set for years to come. But but why did Ford not jump on the Zane? There must have been talks with SHR and people like that with money, and maybe Eric Almirola is coming back. Stay whatever. But I think you got to look at it this way too. Aspire is they the next Furniture Row kind of. Furniture Row all those years was very
I think they're the next 23
mid low pack. Now, given they're a single car team, but very low stuff. They had that. Then they got an alliance in 2014 with RCR. They had a terrible 2014. The 2015 they came out of absolutely nowhere and built it. Then they switched to Toyota, which showed them even better. So you got options, but I expect, like I said, you got to walk before you run.
Yeah.
Get consistent top 10s, maybe one of them makes a playoff. I still don't see them having the speed of the Hendricks and, Toyotas and things like that. But I think they can definitely compete. They could easily be the RFK this year. I mean, but like
that's
I said,
a big step.
That's a huge step. Think about how bad RFK was last year, besides, what's his name's one win. Buescher's one win at Bristol. They weren't that solid, but like I said, they had 1 year of growing pain, and then look at them this year.
Yeah, they got the death penalty in April.
Yeah.
I mean, with Brad Keselowski losing like 150 points.
Yeah, but you got to look at it. Like, they had one rough year.
Yeah.
And then look at them now. They've accumulated 3 wins this year as a team, stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of uptick in Spire. I love how they're investing in the sport. We needed that. So I think it's good. It's very, very, very good.
And then real quickly, what are your thoughts on Carson Hocevar? Obviously, you've heard me sing my praises. When it comes to a prospect, where do you view Carson Hocevar?
I had doubts last year, and it wasn't his driving ability. It was his maturity. I saw a lot of very young and dumb kids with a lot of money, didn't care about their equipment type of month that was happening. And, I think he did it a little bit the first couple races. And then when Dale Jr. got a hold of him and said, listen, like, quit tearing up shit or you're never going to get a ride. Yep. And I think he started winning. He won Texas. He's won Richmond. He's won, I think 3 or 4 races this year in the trucks. Like, complete 180. Got some good Xfinity rides. got some, obviously got asked to run some cup races. So it's one of those things where I think he is going to be solid. I think he's going to struggle maybe first year. Maybe he hasn't really struggled so far this year, but I think he's got a lot of uptick, and I think he's got more uptick than Zane does. Yeah. So I think he's a real deal. And I'm super excited. I hope he sticks around. I'll be honest, when Larson retires, I'll be a huge Carson Hocevar fan. So I'm going to actually still be cheering for him. Hopefully something's good. And you always cheer for an underdog. I mean, even though Spire's put all this money in, they're still an underdog team until they, Furniture Row was an underdog team until they proved everyone that they're the top notch. So I think, Carson's going to be good. I'm happy for him. I'm really excited to see what he does.
Yeah, you mentioned it, like competing with RCR, and my devotion is to the 18, now just the 8. So I could care less what the rest of RCR does, but them buying Kyle Busch Motorsports, them making this investment into Carson Hocevar, I think this is an opportunity to grab fans and to grab support and to find, hey, we are serious now. Hopefully we don't have to listen to Jeff ever do an interview again, because what we heard on Sirius XM was hard to listen to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My car felt really good today. Yeah, we're so excited to buy Kyle Busch Motorsports.
That pretty much nailed it, except nobody banged their head against the wall. So, and the thing too is Carson Hocevar is a great kid. I mean, you listen to him talk. He's got a great personality, and that'll lead us into our next topic. When it comes to personality, your former favorite driver that used to be sponsored by Pepsi versus today's villain and Denny Hamlin. So I want to share with you, if you haven't heard this, that today's going to be a long show. Okay. We could have, I told Travis at the beginning, I'm like, we probably could do like 5 shows in today's show. And if we really wanted to do 5 separate shows, but I said,
what the hell does anyone else got to do on a Wednesday? I mean, really, it's hump day. Like, it's okay. Go get yourself a beer, go get yourself a Pepsi, and just chill out.
Yes. And show both your hands so that we know that everything's cool and everything will be okay. I know how good looking we are, but this jump in, there was some beef initiated by Jeff Gordon kind of out of nowhere on Sirius XM. I mean, Jeff Gordon's not one to initiate the beef. Sometimes Kevin Harvick throws Jeff Gordon into the beef. I mean, we've seen that before. So let me know when you can see my screen, Travis. I am popping it up right now. Can you see that?
I see it.
Okay. So these are the comments made by Jeff Gordon on Sirius XM.
What I do agree with is that
Can you hear this?
is trying to do things to stir up conversation, to get people at least having an opinion, right? Whether it's a positive or negative one, you have an opinion. And the fact that he's embracing that, I'll give him kudos all day long. Go for it. I wouldn't want that to be one of our drivers. Why not? Because it's too controversial. It's a distraction. I feel like I want our drivers to go and build a fan base by winning races and by being themselves and but not doing things. And I think Denny's being himself to a certain degree, but I think he's also kind of it's like an alter ego as well. And again, I want other guys in sport to do stuff like that. But if they come to Hendrick Motorsports, and you can call us stiff, you can call us whatever you want. But we're running a business, and a business is to win races first. Take care of your sponsors, do everything, and let the sponsors market you. Let the sport figure out how to market you. Build your brand through who you are on social media, and be the best you that you can be. But if you really want
to go to the racetrack focused on winning races, it's hard to do that when you have a lot of distractions. And if Denny thrives on that, great.
But I
just don't think that it's healthy within the organization when you have four drivers
and you're going in
meetings together
and
you're talking about how you go to the next race to win. You're having to deal with some of those things. That's just my opinion.
Okay. So those are Jeff Gordon's opinion, like he said. Now, before we get comment, Denny Hamlin had a response because in the name of debate, when somebody calls your name, you're allowed 30 seconds to respond. So I will share my screen. Jeff Gordon put Denny Hamlin's name in his mouth, and Denny Hamlin had something to say as well on actions detrimental. So here is Denny's response. Can you see the screen, Travis?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Odds, and gives you kudos for you building your brand and the alter ego that you may be playing. He does not want any of his drivers doing that because he thinks it's a distraction.
Well, that sounds like a guy I don't want to go to war with. He's like, hey, I'll go to war, but get up front.
Right.
I mean, Jeff Gordon said that. I mean, that is how to stunt NASCAR growth 101 is say, that's too controversial for us. Call us stiff, but I'm wondering how has his sponsors marketed his drivers, because I think his drivers have great personality. Anybody know? No. I haven't seen much either. So he wants me to sit back. He's not. He's saying he likes it. He thinks it's a distraction if it was on his team.
Right.
Well, thank God I don't drive for him.
How's it a distraction though? This isn't like
Has he been watching a race in the last 12 weeks?
Well, it's not like football.
Okay. So that's the main response back. So let me preface it this way. And again, those are Sirius XM for Jeff Gordon and also Actions Detrimental by Dirty Mo Media. I suggest that you listen to both of those things because they're great resources. And actually, Denny Hamlin is really entertaining on his show. As much as you may dislike him, he does have great feedback as a driver. So let me say this. I have been the first person to say that NASCAR has to have personalities. You have to have people in this sport sell. And I've compared NASCAR to baseball a lot of times because where I think NASCAR has really failed to promote its product is to promote its drivers. That being said, no, Kyle Busch promotes himself. He was one of those drivers that could sell things and love him or hate him. There's a reason why Dale Earnhardt, 20 years past his death, still shows up at the racetrack, as you know, Travis, is because he was a personality unlike any other. And Jeff Gordon, a lot of times, was a personality that really sold things and said things whenever he drove. Dale Earnhardt Jr. today is a personality that continues to work and sell things and promotes the history of the sport. So I feel like the things that Jeff Gordon has done and the things that Jeff Gordon has said are completely different. That being said, Jeff Gordon has had success since he took over at Hendrick. I don't want to take that away. Where he hasn't had success, I haven't seen jack shit when it comes to these drivers being promoted anywhere outside the racetrack. Outside of Kyle Larson, because Kyle Larson is his own person. Kyle Larson is on, he is as blue collar as it gets because he is everywhere during the week. And then it feels like NASCAR is his second job more often than not because he is a race car driver, his first job. So let's just take Kyle Larson out of the picture. And if you look at the other three drivers, they're not selling any products anywhere because you don't see their face anywhere. So I leaned with Denny Hamlin because Denny Hamlin wants to sell this sport. And I think if Denny Hamlin sees what happens, and the reason why Jeff Gordon became to fame is because of Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt had a beef, whether it was manufactured or not, because he saw Jeff Gordon as the next coming of himself. talent-wise and said the only way we continue to market this, whether it's like a WWE style or not, is we have to act like that we got some shit going on. I may love you, but on Sundays, I want to act like I am there to piss you off and do everything wrong. And NASCAR fans ate it up because there's never been a more popular time than when Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt had beef. And Jeff Gordon sure didn't struggle during those times. So I feel like what Jeff Gordon has lived out his life and what he is now saying as somebody leading are completely different things. Travis, I'll let you have the floor.
Oh man, I've got mixed feelings. Jeff Gordon's my idol. It's hard to disagree. It's hard to go both ways. I think he's got a point in a sense. I look at Denny Hamlin. Do I like Denny Hamlin as a race car driver? No, I've disliked him a lot. Maybe in this year, I thought growing up he was a crybaby, honestly. But he's taken out my boy Larson a few times. Hate to say it, but it's stuff. But I listen to his podcast every week because of the opinions that he has. I listen because I think he gives great perspective of an inside the garage as a race car driver, as a NASCAR fan as well. I think he gives great points. But I think you got to have somebody. If you look at all the other sports, who does the NFL have? NFL had Tom Brady, kind of outspoken, kind of had that personality. Who does the NBA got? LeBron, maybe. Somewhat, maybe.
Yeah, LeBron reading the first page of every book he's ever had.
He had Kobe, maybe a little bit. Kobe was a little bit outspoken as well. But I think you had
Patrick Mahomes is literally on every single commercial.
I know, but if we're going to go back to the commercial things, think about like the years between 2000 to 2010 ish, 2008. I'd probably say 2007. Think about all the commercials. I felt like 80% of them were with NASCAR drivers. Think about all like the Gillette commercials, all the Budweiser. Think about the Allstate. Think about all the insurance ones. Think of FedEx. Think of M&M. Think about all these.
Travis, one of the best commercials of all time is still Dale Earnhardt Jr. with his Dale call.
Yeah.
That is one of the greatest Mountain Dew commercials of all time.
And do you remember the Denny Hamlin commercials with FedEx when he was always racing the elderly people and stuff like that? And the stuff?
Yes.
But look at that. Look at now. Can you name me a commercial besides a Chevy, a Toyota, or a Ford commercial that has a NASCAR driver in it?
No, none. I couldn't tell you, Travis, who the Coca-Cola drivers were, and I used to know them by heart because I was sick and tired of seeing the damn commercials for them.
And like I said, the Dale call, I mean, that was great. Think about all those commercials that had, Jeff Gordon was in a lot of these commercials, but it's just a different time. And I think he sees it as it's a different time of how you do things now. They had a lot of promotions that they used to have to do obligation-wise. Back in the day, they had some other stuff they needed to do, and now you get all your promotion from social media. You get your promotion from like your fan base. Like I said, you said it perfectly. Kyle Larson promotes himself because he races. He's a race car driver first, and he drives for Hendrick Motorsports second. That's what he is. Yep. He makes his money because he sells his product. Yep. I think you look at.
People know who Kinley Farms is because of Kyle Larson. I have anything about Kinley Farms.
Or Toulton or something like that. Transportation.
Yeah.
Think about Napa. Let's go back to Napa. There's been more Mark Truex Jr. Napa commercials than there has ever been Chase Elliott Napa commercials.
Yeah.
Think about
Michael Waltrip. I still think of more Michael Waltrip shit than I've ever thought of Chase Elliott.
I think way more Michael Waltrip than I do Chase Elliott. Think about I think I could think of all these. I think it's just a different time. I think what Jeff Gordon is saying is you got to be we're more business than we are having that opinion now. There's too much in this world now that if you have an opinion, you're wrong. If you say that the sky is blue, someone can say it's green, and there's an argument. I think Jeff is saying like it's great that we have that personality, and it's great. Denny Hamlin, you take it over the reins, you do it all. Everyone loves you doing it. But my guys are going to do it by winning races and being a fan base. Because think about it. Chase Elliott got handed the most popular driver award. I still say to this day, Kyle Larson's got way more fans. And I know I'm going to be biased here, but he's got way more fans. He just does. I think Jeff is not wrong in his opinion. I don't think. I think he's got a great point, but Denny Hamlin as a race car driver, I don't like because he can compete, he can win. You know, you don't like people that are as good as your driver. But I don't like him because he's taking out my driver. But on the outside of the race car driver, Denny might be one of my favorite personalities out there because he's just got a great opinion. He gives you a great perspective. He just tells you how it is. And I think Jeff is seeing, like, today's world, if you got an opinion or if you say something, I mean, it's not the same as the Noah Gragson thing, but think about Noah Gragson just liking a picture and lost his ride. I mean, that's what we've came to nowadays. And I think Jeff is saying, hey, you got an opinion. You say everything you want. You do whatever the heck you want. That's great. I'm glad it's you and not my guys. But my guys are going to promote themselves by racing, winning races, and being on social media.
Well, and that's the last part of that I got beef with. His drivers aren't active on social media. They don't do shit. I mean, Alex Bowman is whenever he gets called a hack and makes a T-shirt. I mean, he's the only one that does it. But, I mean, outside of that, like, his drivers aren't selling anything. I think Jeff Gordon's approaching this as the CEO / whatever you want to call it, director of operations of Hendrick Motorsport. He wants his life to be easy.
Yeah.
He don't want to have to answer questions. He don't want to go into a press conference to where your driver said this. How do you feel about that? No, that's not what he wants to do. He wants to say, you know, I want my drivers to sit down, shut up, and be really good at what they do.
Yeah.
That being said, Jeff Gordon is the best thing that's happened to Pepsi because I know people today that still watch those Pepsi Zero commercials of that guy when he pretends that he drives a minivan and he drives a Camaro, and that guy loses his mind. Because Jeff Gordon has the personality to sell that stuff. His drivers don't. Nobody listens to his drivers. If they were to have a podcast, people would listen to Chase Elliott for maybe 10 minutes, and then they turn it off. I've done this show when it comes to telling you about William Byron. We had a long discussion after the previous race about him not being a great personality that doesn't move the needle in the sport. All that to be said is, you listen to Denny Hamlin. I listen to Denny Hamlin. I personally don't like Denny Hamlin based on the experience I've had with him in person. Yeah. You don't like him because of what's happened on this racetrack. But there's one thing to be said. We respect him because we know he's a damn good driver and he's going to say what he's going to say.
I think
that's why we listen to him.
And I think he made a great point. You know, William Byron gets sponsored by Raptor. Do you know what Raptor is?
Have no fucking
Raptor's a paint.
Excuse my French.
It's Exalta's paint. It's one of their paints they're trying to promote hardcore. It's a paint. Like, how do you?
I would guess it's
just because I was an Exalta guy, but how do you? No one else knows that. It's like everyone sees Raptor. First thing I think of Raptor is, you know, a dinosaur, or it's probably a bedliner of some sort.
I thought it would be like a side by side, or like Yamaha had a new 4-wheeler and they just.
But do you know what Ally is?
A bank.
It's a bank. It used to be GMAC that used to sponsor.
No, I had no idea.
It used to be GMAC before they switched to Ally, but you know, like that.
Okay, so Jerry Nadeau type deal.
Yeah,
like,
Brian Vickers. Okay. You know, but think about the people we connect this stuff to. But think about like now. Think about who do you connect Tide to?
Tide? Well, I mean, it was like Ricky Craven,
Darryl Waltrip,
Ricky Rudd, Darryl Waltrip.
You got all these people you connect to. Think about Mountain Dew, like you said, you got Dale Jr. I think what Jeff's saying is the time has changed where sponsorship, people don't want you to be super controversial because and you know, FedEx has lost some of their, you know, they're not as prominent on his car as FedEx used to be on Denny's car. So maybe because he's outspoken, he's lost some dollars with they've lost some money with FedEx because he's too outspoken. I don't know. It's just all, you know, Fugazi, whatever they call it. But I think it's one of those things where I love his personality. I will listen to his show because I like the opinions. I like what perspective he gives. I think Jeff has a point, but I think I think he's thinking that the times have changed to where you need to just kind of shut up and race and do your thing and make a few people happy, and hopefully you win some races and people like you.
And I just completely disagree with that. I mean, I think more often than not, people will grab the hottest headline that they can find, and that's what ends up turning into. Jeff Gordon's made more noise by saying the shit that he said on SiriusXM than any of his drivers have this entire year by promoting different things. I mean, let's just put it that way. Jeff Gordon's been more controversial than any of his drivers because of an interview he had on SiriusXM.
Besides Kyle Larson did an Indy 500.
Well, yeah, but that's racing related, absolutely. But you know, and I don't view it that way. Like, this sport needs people to carry it personality. And I've said that with baseball so much, that baseball really, really struggles to have kids actually love the sport of baseball and show it. And I feel like the World Baseball Classic was the first thing to go, guys, it's okay to love baseball. Mm-hmm. You can walk on the mound once in a while. You can stare at somebody. All these stupid ass unwritten rules by guys that are 95 years old, they don't mean shit. Just have fun. Be a kid. And I feel like that's what we need with racing, is we need personalities. That's what sold this sport, was the personalities. The reason why this sport exists is because there was a blizzard, and the only thing with 3 channels on was the Daytona 500, and the Allison brothers started beating the shit out of Cale Yarborough because they started a wreck that Richard Petty won. Yeah. That's how this sport began, was because of controversy. And it's going to stay that way because there's people in this sport that make it awesome. And if you want to go to here, at the same time, I was the same person that says Ross Chastain, he may be bad for people in the garage, but he can't apologize for doing what you're doing because you're selling shit, Ross. You're the guy. Yep. People are talking about you. And look what you've done now. Now you've done jack shit. You bounced out of the playoffs without a win.
And that's what I've been pointing out. You said it right there. I think you made a great point to me, and I didn't realize. I didn't like Ross Chastain because he was taking out my guy. He took him out 3 races in a row, 4 races. I was pissed. God, I was like, I cheered for you. I met you in a Waffle House. I talked to you for hours. God, you pissed me off. Like, get out of here. But at the same time, think about who called him.
Rick Hendrick.
Hey,
boring.
He says, from up here, go down here. It's time to quit wrecking cars and being serious. Ross Chastain hasn't been the same since. He won Nashville, but he hasn't really done a whole lot besides that. So, I think that I see both sides. I see what he's trying to say, but like you said, who's the next personality besides Denny Hamlin? Who is it?
He just embraced that this year. I mean,
his teammates more tricks, isn't he? He's just going to show up and race and just be good. Is Kyle Busch the next personality?
No, now he's Grandpa Busch. I talk about that tomorrow.
I think,
I literally said tomorrow just to preface it, not to shamelessly.
I think
plug,
you have.
But I said,
but
I don't need Grandpa Busch anymore. I don't need, like, Kyle Larson goes, yeah, he's a nice guy. No, I need the Kyle Busch that rattled people's cages and got pissed off because he was really good when he.
Yeah, I think you got, personality. Denny Hamlin going to be around forever. I think someone's got to be the one that's got to be that. I think, I look at all these teams. I don't see a lot of personality. I see a lot of good race car drivers. It was Joey Logano, but he's kind of quieted down over the last few years. So I don't know, but
yeah, when he was pissing people off, he won a championship.
Yep. So I think it goes both ways.
And the last thing I'll say about this is that the people in this sport that continue to carry it is Dale Jr. And I didn't like Dale Jr. as a racer. I thought the way that you've talked about Chase Elliott is the way that I talked about Dale Jr.
Yeah.
Dale Jr. inherited a fan base based upon not his production. Yep. It was based upon his dad. That being said, listen to Dale Jr. now. He has recognized his spot in the history of the sport, and to me has done more than NASCAR itself to help grow it with his personality, his podcasting, and all the other things that he does, bringing back racetracks and things of that nature.
I had a rivalry.
So NASCAR needs Dale Jr.
Yeah, and I had a rivalry with my cousin that loved Dale Earnhardt Jr. and I loved Jeff Gordon. We used to do this money battle. Whoever finished ahead of the other one got $1. If they won the race, got $2. Oh, my mom's watching because she used to always write the check if I lost. But Jeff Gordon beat the crap out of Dale Jr. every single year. So thanks, Mom, for always writing the check. But when he came to Hendrick in 2008, I was like, good. Screw this. Like, I hate this. Like, I'm ticked because Gordon fans and Earnhardt fans didn't get along. They just didn't. But I look at when Earnhardt retired.
How do you think Kyle Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
Yeah, exactly. But think about whenever he retired. Like his last year, I cheered for him. I wanted him to win, several different times. And I think back when 2014 we won the 500 and things like that, I started cheering for him because he was a Hendrick guy. I kind of started getting to stuff, but I listened to his Dale Jr. download. I listen to all that. But I think he's partially like a Denny in a sense. I think he gives his opinion, and I think he gives it from a different perspective. And I laughed at that. That was funny. That's funny. She still is cutting me a little check here and there, but
damn allergies. My eye's been so dry lately.
Give him that. But I think he gives a great opinion and gives a good perspective of what it's like being in the business, what it's like being a team owner. And now I'm like, God, why did I ever hate the dude? Like, why did I hate the dude? It's like Denny. I'm like, God, I love him. Like, why can I hate him? And then you see him race and do some stuff. I'm like, God, I'm not a big Joe Gibbs fan. I'm not a big Toyota fan. I'm just like, when he won Poconos rookie, I was like, I like you. I think you're going to be good. Then they went to Toyota. I don't know. Maybe I just have a thing with that with Joe Gibbs and stuff like because of the rivals. But I'm like, I love Denny as a personality.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And, like I said, we could have done our own show on this and continue the conversation. But, one thing I will say, I want to thank everybody for being here. You guys have been tuning in now for over an hour. Again, I told you this would be a jam-packed show. So now we're going to move forward. If you want to stay in the conversation, which you guys have done great with, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And let's go ahead and move on to Las Vegas and talk about our round of 8 picks. If you don't know, that's actually my Honda Civic. I took a microphone to it, and
I thought you said that was my race car.
Sounds just like that. Moving on. Thanks for putting me on blast there. So we are moving to Las Vegas, a mile and a half. We've had some interesting things like Bubba trying to fight your guy and also trying to kill him at the same time last year during this race. So hopefully we don't see that. Bubba just got bounced out of his by far greatest year of all time. So, hopefully we don't see that type of drama, like stupidity drama, but I wouldn't mind some actual good drama. More importantly, I just want some good racing, and I feel like Las Vegas has produced that here recently. But let's go ahead and again look at the standings. I found this on the internet. This is where we sit right now. We kind of talked about this afterwards, but let's go ahead and let's give our round of 8 picks. Who is going to make it to the championship 4? I will go first, unless you want to lead it off, Travis. How do you?
I feel like we're going to say the same 3, and then we might have a different 4th.
Okay, you're probably right. So let me just go ahead. I'll lead this pony show. I'm going to go with William Byron. There's no reason why he can't make it out of this round. I will then go with the aforementioned, talked about a lot, Denny Hamlin. I will go with Kyle Larson. And my heart says I got to stick with what I want. Now, I want to say this. I think Chris Buescher has just as good a chance as anybody else to make it, but I'm going to go with Christopher Bell. I said after the show, he found his way to work forward. He's been quiet. He's been doing what needs to be done. And it seems like when it comes to being clutch, Christopher Bell is that guy. So I will go with Christopher Bell. So I have 2 JGR, 2 Hendrick Motorsports to be absolutely boring and bland. Travis, who do you have?
I told you I would have the same 3. So I think you got William Byron. I think he's going to sneak around there. I think he's got enough points. I think he's going to be just fine. Denny Hamlin, he's been
hold on one second, Travis. William Byron quietly went 1-2-2 that last round.
I know.
So I mean,
and just think about, like I said, he's been sneaky. Like I said, a 1.66 average finish. He's been sneaky good. I'm telling you. I think a lot of his wins though have been very sneaky though. I think you think about the ones he's won. I can think of 3 races this year. Darlington, he's won Vegas, Phoenix, and Texas. 4 races that Larson led with under 7 to go. about 8 to go.
Yeah, and I would say he won the best car at Atlanta when it got rain.
No, there's 5 right there. So I mean, he's I'm not gonna say he backed in any wins, but he's been there at the finish, and where they don't pay you for the leading the 198th lap, they pay you for the leading the 200th lap. So he's been, like I say, he's been the closer what Kevin Harvick was known for. I think that name's got to go. He's
been fast enough to be there at the end. That's all.
Yep. So I think you got Byron, you got Denny Hamlin, Larson. Larson's going to be good at the mile and a half. He's been great at the mile and a half all year. There's no reason why he doesn't. He's really won at all 3 tracks. But then the 4th one, I don't think Bell's got it. I don't think any of the JGR's got the speed. I don't think Martin Truex has got the speed. I don't think he's got the speed. I think it's gonna be Hendrick versus Denny ownership. I think Tyler Reddick's gonna go in there. I think Tyler Reddick's been flashy on mile and a halves. There you go. I think he's gonna be really good. I think he's gonna get a good top 5 finish at Vegas and at Homestead. I'm sorry, I know people talk about running the wall, but I know I'm going to be biased here, but there is absolutely 0 people that can run lap after lap like, Larson. And then I think when you go to Martinsville, I think Reddick and Larson's going to have enough point build up, or at least a win in there, to where it's going to be more of who's gonna make sure that Denny and Byron get through. So there's my 4. I think that's a solid 4. You never know. I think Buescher might have it. I just don't see the Fords performing there, really. I think Toyota's got a lot of speed. I think Chevy's got a lot of speed with his mile and a half, and that's what this really is. Then if you qualify good at Martinsville and you keep your nose clean, you'll be fine there too. So there's my 4.
The thing that I would say about Buescher, and the reason why I brought this up, is somebody's going to screw up.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever that is, I feel like Buescher, it would have to be this race where he gets a top 5 and sets himself up perfectly for somebody that screws up. Whether that's too fast on pit lane and becomes a lap down, something of that nature, to where there's going to be something that's out of the driver's hands that we just don't see, whether it's a wreck or whether it's a wheel falling off. I mean, this is the most pressurized thing because, like we said, you win, you have a 25% chance at the championship. You can't say that in all the other rounds. You have a chance to move on, but you don't have a chance at the championship. And that's just enough pressure for you to think that lug nut's on tight enough, or think that, maybe instead of going 2 red lights in second gear, I can go 3 and end up getting a pit road penalty. Mm-hmm. Just something of that nature that you and I, when we're done with the Las Vegas race, go, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. And,
I think,
and I feel like Chris Buescher has been just consistent enough where they haven't made mistakes.
I think you look at, like you said, I think you make a great point about Buescher. Think about all the races they don't really talk about on Blind. It's like, oh shit, he got 6th place. What? We got 4th place. I'm like, what the heck? And then like his 3 wins, 1, 3 out of 4 there, kind of out of nowhere. So I think, like you said, I think there's surprises. We could say all 4 of these people, and that's the other 4 people. I don't know. I think you got 3 clear-cut people that are, they could easily each point their way in or whatever. I think the 4th one's kind of a toss-up, but you just never know. It could be a late race caution with JJ Yaley to take you out of, whatever. So I don't know, whatever. But I think you got 3 at least clear-cut, and it's hard to, at a mile and a half, it's hard to take out Reddick.
Yeah, and the crazy part is too, Travis, at the end of the day, we go to Homestead, and Martin Truex Jr. has been great there before. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be shocking if he just goes there and ends up being one of the best cars there. So it's like you said, you could really point to anybody. The only one I'm having a hard time with is Ryan Blaney, because I just don't know what the hell Penske's good at. Just seriously, it just seems like they're just random outside of, super speedways.
Yeah.
So I find it hard to really look at Ryan Blaney, but at the same time, you may just need 3 top 10s and find your way into the championship 4. So
I think Christopher Bell and Ryan Blaney has probably got to win in a race in order to get. I don't know if they could probably point their way in. It'd be very close, especially Ryan Blaney. I don't think he can point his way in. I think he's going to have to win one of these races. I just don't. I haven't seen enough out of him on the short tracks. In the 1.5 miles, he obviously won the Coke 600, but I don't know.
Yep. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. This is one of the longest shows that we have. But if you're just now tuning in, this is your first time here, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. We break down everything. Even sometimes I forget to do that because I'm a juvenile and hitting buttons are hard. But we're glad that you're here. Hopefully, you're getting a perspective from people that don't always agree on things. And then sometimes do agree, but more importantly, make you think. We love the sport. We love the community, more importantly, except for some of you Facebook group people. You guys are psychopaths that think we have the option to change the results of races and things like that. But no, tongue in cheek, the reason why we do this is because NASCAR fans are the most passionate fans of all time. There's a reason why I've never been to Jimmy John's, and it's because Kevin Harvick didn't like Kyle Busch for a while. And you mentioned the type of same thing. There's a reason why you have a ton of Pepsi shit. Yeah, exactly.
I wish I could show you my wall right here of a Pepsi memorabilia I have.
Yeah.
But
and it's just that type of dedication.
It goes back to the sponsorship stuff. I drank Pepsi for the sole reason of Jeff Gordon. Heck, I got a Pepsi machine back here. But yeah, it goes, we talked about that plenty. But like I said, I love NASCAR fans are the hardest ones to please because we don't really always know what we want. A basketball court's never going to change. A football field's really never going to change besides the turf and grass stuff. But, there's days that we want this and this, and we want tighter racing, but we don't like super speedway racing. So, it's one of those things where we want multiple groove lanes, but we also don't want to, whatever. So, we're hardest people to please because we're always going to do that.
It's tough. It's tough. He's attacking your setup. You haven't been here long. That's why we got the Patreon, so we can get both a motor and a flashlight for Travis. So chill out, Zach.
My actual iRacing setup microphone will not work, and I got a way better camera on that. I got a lot better stuff on there, but I've been using my laptop. Yeah. I will get a lamp for you guys. I'll have it way better for next time.
Zach. I will say this. His OnlyFans setup is way better than what he's got going on right now. And his paycheck for that is way better than what he's got.
Hey, hairy toes and feet pics might give me a new motor before the end of the year.
And I'm out of moonshine. So yeah. But it's great. Again, Travis, I want to thank you for being on here. You've brought a lot of perspective, brought a lot of insight. So I appreciate it very much. Hopefully you're enjoying the community.
I love it
here as well.
I've told you this whenever we're down there. It's funny, before I even knew you had the podcast, I even looked at you and said, I want to do a podcast. I think I would bring a lot of perspective, and I know my shit when it comes to NASCAR stuff. So someone let me get on something. You're like, oh, I got a podcast. I'm like,
there you go.
Bring it on. What about?
All right. Well, guys, we will be here after the race on Sunday. I'm still almost had a heart attack. I'm still thinking about possibly live streaming Phoenix. The only problem is I'll need you guys because that race typically sucks. But I know Travis will be all jacked up on Pepsi if Kyle Larson's there, so I won't have to worry about him talking for 3 hours. But it'll be me that may have. So let me know if you guys want that. If there's an Xfinity race you guys want, bring that up in the chat as well. We'd love to do that. Make sure you comment below all the things we've discussed tonight. Let us know how you feel. We'll discuss it either on the next episode. Let's talk about it episode. Again, I have one of those coming out tomorrow. All kinds of stuff. Again, this is all part of your community, all a chance for you to talk the same amount of news and stuff that we're finding out as well for you to be a part of it. So again, my name is Ryan Peters for Travis Butt. This has been Stuck in the Catch Fence. We'll see you next time. God bless.